Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.
Wish you could slide into my mind and make me mine. Push play rewind. Let's whip outside and so am I.
Hi everyone, I'm Dylan B. Dickerson White, Mr. Trans USA 2022. Still have not found a shorter way to say that, but I'm here with our Miss Trans Iowa, and I'd like to have this opportunity for her to introduce her. I'm sorry, them, right?
Both.
Okay, I
I'm
had seen.
okay with I'm okay with they, them, she, her.
Okay,
That,
so
those ones are good.
okay, let me start that over. Would you yeah, because that's my fault. I know I saw that in the application and I saw both and I was like, wait, which one should I? Yeah. So I should have asked first. Okay.
Dealer's choice.
Let's go with it. All right. Hi everyone, my name is Dylan B. Dickerson White. I'm Mr. Trans USA 2022. I'm here with our Miss Trans Iowa, and they're here to tell us a little bit more about themselves and kind of just get us to know more about what they'd like to focus on during the next 6 months as we prepare for nationals. And I'd like to, of course, give them this opportunity to introduce themselves and tell us some things we may not have read online when we're searching out our contestants.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Carmen Love Monroe, as you heard, Miss Iowa, Miss Trans Iowa 2023. Sometimes, you know.
Yeah, we've all had that week. I know that we have just been talking a little bit earlier. So some of the things that come out of my mouth, I know people are gonna think are crazy. So
I feel you. Words taste like peaches sometimes. So like it's just whatever comes out.
Yeah, my dad used to say it was like a gumball machine. Like you put a quarter in and you still have no idea what's coming out.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Accurate.
So sorry for interrupting, of course, but yeah, tell us about yourself. Like a little more things that like about who you are, like what makes you tick.
What makes me tick?
Yeah.
Well, pizza typically will motivate me for sure. But yeah, no, I've been performing for drag shows and some burlesque shows as well. In September, it'll be 13 years actually. So
that's really close. I'm about 15, so we're around the same sort of start time. It doesn't even feel like it's been that long, but then I realized I'm one of those old people, so I don't know if it's.
I've had that thought too, and I'm like, oh, am I an elder now? Is that how this works?
I still don't know the answer to that, honestly. But it brings me to a really important question, actually, because we're both entertainers, and it's actually kind of an important part of what I do outside of everything else. So I kind of wanted to ask, what made you interested in Trans USA not being really an entertainment focused competition?
So honestly, when the first time I saw the poster for it, and I was like, what's this about? And I hadn't known anybody yet. Well, I didn't realize that I had known someone, Candy Stratton. We had met before, and she also, fun fact, is my drag grandma. Yeah. So I was like, this is great.
Yeah, it's an amazing role model, honestly. So yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen her in a very, very long time, so I'm kind of hoping she'll be there. But I enjoy the drag pageants, like the entertaining pageants and stuff. But when I started to hear more about this one, because Ty Torres is a close friend of mine, and he was telling me about it, I was just like, this sounds great. I'm like, you mean that this is more about working with the community and trying to spread just all this trans love and all this trans amazingness, and really just advocating for the younger ones, and just like I said, creating just a better world for us trans individuals and everyone who falls under the umbrella. And I just was like, yeah, I want I want to be involved with that. Like that's something I definitely want to be involved in.
I am totally with you. It sparked my interest, and it kind of scared me in a little way. I don't know if it did with you, but because I was like, I can't hide behind my drag persona and all that makeup I sometimes would put. So like, what do I have to offer beyond that? And that was a little bit of like a, oh wow, you know. But
Yeah,
I totally with you. And so yeah, I mean, you have the absolute best idea about this pageant, just because it's so different, and really getting back to the roots of what pageantry is, if you think about it, like being a
right.
rep, like
Exactly.
um, and so that does kind of lead me into my next question. I somehow just works out. So I know I posted something, and don't cheat because you probably saw it. So I always ask people like, what visibility means to them, because this pageant is about visibility, but we all know it looks really different for everybody. So for you personally, what does that look like?
Me personally, just me literally being here. Like, and I like when it comes to being visible in the community and stuff too, it's just to be able to just walk out whether I have like makeup on, whether I don't have makeup on, whether I'm in feminine presenting clothing or not. I just want to be seen. I just want to be seen as a human being. And that's to me, like that's kind of what visibility feels like, is just being seen as a human being. Because at the end of the day, that's what we are.
Yeah.
Are we more magical? Of course. But I mean,
I mean, just inherently.
right. I mean, there's no lies. But it's just at the end of the day, we're all humans and we're just trying to exist and navigate this experience that we are fortunately able to have. Like,
Yeah, and I'm actually, even though you're making a joke at the end there, like you're totally
it's who
right.
I am.
Like no, like I said, some of the things that come out of my mouth, the stares I get, people just kind of at this point know, just go with it. But it does kind of hit me on like another topic that I haven't asked in a while. So I think this is a good one, because the us being human, I think that it's a huge misconception that people think we're this big scary monolith, these people they can't even sort of relate to. And I think that's one of the big things about this pageant, is dealing with a lot of those misconceptions that people have about the trans community. So I think I wanted to ask, what do you think is another one of those big misconceptions that we need to address for people outside the community?
I personally believe that like one of the biggest one is literally just like what being trans is. Like, because so many people just have this like they have this idea that like being trans is like one thing, and it's like no, because being trans, like there are so many different ways and so many valid ways to be trans. And it's not that like, oh, we're just choosing to be trans. It's no, we're choosing our happiness. And
Right.
that's, we're choosing to give ourselves something to like fight for. And that's like being alive and like being excited about that. And I think honestly just gender in general is what they need to understand. And the fact
Yeah.
that it is not binary, it is a spectrum. Bill Nye said it, everyone else said it, our ancestors have said it. Like,
Yeah, this is not something that we just kind of invent, and the thing that was invented was the binary distinction. We're just giving random labels to things that don't really fall in a category, but putting them there anyway. And it's something that you're totally right. And if they don't understand that basic fact, then understanding all of the rest of it is going to be really hard.
yeah. And I've had a lot of conversations with people because I tend to be I tend to be the type of human that like you can come and ask me like some little more invasive questions
Yeah.
that you might get punched in the throat for. Like, but like I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
so we don't normally ask people that. I will inform you, but that's like from my experience only. And I always make a point to say that to them too, is like, this is my experience. Like, you can go talk to another trans individual and it is going to be completely different for them. I said, but hopefully what I'm telling you can help. Like,
Yeah,
and
I'm totally with you. Like, there's just generally like, oh, bad question, but I mean, I've they have to get it from somewhere, and I feel like I'm one of those people, like you just said, that even if it's a little, you grit your teeth a little bit, you give the education, and I think that is pretty important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do tell people I do use the whole like, well, hey, like if you're more curious, I'm like, 'cause I'm not an expert. I can only tell you what I know. I'm like, there is plenty of resources. You can look at Google. I really dislike telling people right off the bat, like, well,
Yeah,
Google's a thing, look it up. And I'm like, but conversation is so important. Like that's how,
absolutely.
it's
That's
dialogue. And
because it's what we talked about before, that human aspect of it, like talking to an actual person. It's a lot different than reading something, and that interaction that people have is so, like, obviously if they're willing to listen, that's it's just so
that,
important.
yeah,
I think that you having that mindset is something that's really helpful, because there, as we can see what's going on right now, there's a lot of misinformation. A lot of people just don't get it. And so,
yeah.
like, it kind of brings me to another sort of related question. Um, so what's the approach you would take on education wise? And maybe I'll just rephrase that a little different. Education's important, and people just like that, they wouldn't maybe know things about being trans. They may not know about the pageant. So if you had to say, I asked you, I have no idea what Trans USA is or what it's about, to somebody that's really just seeing that for the first time, like you did, how would you explain it to them?
Oh, all right. Well, honestly, that took me a second. I was like, oh, he got me good. Um,
Not all of them are on the paper, but it's like, yeah.
right. I was like, oh no. But honestly, like I would just explain to them kind of what we were talking about earlier is like this is a pageant system that just really like what's the word I want? Sometimes words are hard, remember?
Words are hard.
It just really focuses in on, expressing and showcasing the beauty of being trans in every different aspect. You have performers, you have someone who's a baker, you have someone who works at a grocery store, and it's highlighting, there we go,
That,
highlighting like the many different types of just
yeah,
beautiful people that are out there. And it's a system that like works really hard to also spread this love and spread this information and helps like the youth that are fighting harder than I think anybody I've ever met in my life, you know,
that is a
and
huge, yeah. It
it's just like being there for them, like being that role model for them, being that person that they look at one day and go, that could be me. Like that
some
that could be me. Like they're trans, I'm trans, like they're telling me I need to hide in this closet and, you know, not even exist. But then there's this beautiful creature that is like saying
like,
like,
just
hey,
traveling around the country, just being awesome, and just, I think that's something that it's so important. Like, I didn't have this kind of thing growing up to look at. I didn't see anybody that even was remotely like me around me, let alone on a national stage or in the media or anything. So giving people that is going to be so critical. But you hit on another topic, as I think we can kind of shift into, like, the things that are happening with trans kids, the bills and all of these attacks on their families and stuff. And I wanted to ask, with everything going on, if you could kind of give a message to the families of those trans kids right now, what do you think you'd say to their parents?
to their parents, I would tell you thank you. Thank you for standing beside your child and fighting for your child and with your child, like right beside them. Like you have no idea how incredibly important it is that you're doing that. And it's just thank you. Like,
It doesn't have to be anything really. Like, thank you is something that, you're right. Those parents don't hear a lot from a lot of people right now. They get the attacks, but
mm-mm.
just giving them that reassurance is so crucial. So I think the next question I'm going to ask based on that is, what would you say to the kids?
Well, I would tell them that they are some of the fiercest humans I've ever seen and that they are so brave and that they just need to keep being brave. Be safe. Don't put yourself in a dangerous situation. but be brave. Be yourself. Don't let anybody tell you who you are, because no one knows who you are except for you. And no one can tell you who you are except for you. And if you are one of those kids out there who doesn't have anyone to like supporting and fighting and telling you that you're beautiful and that you're loved, I love you and I support you.
That's honestly, I could take that out right here and post that for everyone, just that little clip, because that's just absolutely perfect and what those kids need to hear.
They need it. They need it so bad.
And I again, kind of gives you mixed feelings, doesn't it? Like you wish somebody would have said that, because even if when you don't know, or for at least for me, when I didn't really kind of have an idea as like what trans was, I just knew that something was weird about me, weird.
Right.
And it's amazing to see the progress we've made, of course, even with spite of the crazy things going on in the world. And so I know some states are making more progress than others, but I really don't, even after talking before, things have been changing so fast, So can you kind of tell me what it's like in Iowa for trans people right now?
Well, I will say it's not nearly like as bad as some of these other states. So that's, fortunately, I should say, it's not as bad as some of the other states, but there have been like the bathroom bills that have been a big debate, and even like the banning of the drag shows. They tried to, but that one got squashed, and so that one isn't going to happen. But I know the bathrooms has been a big thing, and also something that happened is the teachers do not have to respect the pronouns or their names. They can use whatever one they want. Something that is pretty incredible, though, that I've heard from some educators, because I've had these conversations with a couple people, and who are in education, and they've actually said that most of the teachers in the schools are pretty much giving that the big middle finger, and they're like, no, you will be called how you like, your name, not your preferred name, your name,
just
and your pronouns. Yeah. That's your name. Like, so that's pretty great to hear.
I think it just goes in most cases. There are, of course, in the states you mentioned, some of the super conservative, like behind states, like maybe there's there, but I think by and large, like teachers who go into that profession do it because they want to help kids and they know that is an actively harmful thing. So it's like,
right.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, and I believe too. I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure there's something about the kids aren't they allowed to get the HRT that they need and any of the gender affirming care right now as well. At least that was for like on the table.
Yeah,
I haven't checked to see if that one went through or not yet, but I think there's a chance it did.
It's like there's so many in different stages that are happening in different states, and it's a lot to keep up with too. And I mean, I'll admit myself, like sometimes it's really hard to keep reading those kinds of things every day. So we kind of have to like tune out and really kind of take time for ourselves, just to be able to fight for those things, just to be able to get back at that work. So it's okay to not know every little detail of every little thing, because, at the end of the day, the exact number of this and that may not be as important as the work that, we're doing, and then the self-care that comes with in this role, all these things we want to do. So I wanted to ask, like, because of course we're real people, again, need a break sometimes. What do you do to relax, to kind of just tune all that stuff out and just get back to yourself?
Well, depends on the day.
Fair.
Usually though, like if I just really need to just tune out and not, like, I don't want to talk to anybody, I need to just completely recharge, I tend to just hang out with Netflix for a little bit. And by a little bit, it could be 2 hours, it could be until the next day. It's anybody's game.
Anybody. So what have you been?
Depends on what you're watching. Like,
so what have you been watching most recently?
Supernatural actually is what I've been getting through because I have had so many people telling me that they're like, you would love this. And it wasn't that I never wanted to watch it. It was just I had like 18 other shows I was trying to finish.
And it's a
And
commitment, isn't it? Isn't it like 20 some seasons?
it's like 15.
Oh.
And
I
well,
thought
and then yeah, well, and then
it's so
Rory
many.
was one who was just like, the show, you need to watch it. And I'm like, okay, like, you know what? I just finished Lucifer.
Oh,
Oh,
so
actually, at that time, I was like, I need to finish Lucifer, and then I will start that one.
no,
And then there was one day I watched a whole season in one day. It was great. And I was like, yep, I understand now. I understand.
yeah,
Like,
I am a fan of all like the kind of same shows. So I haven't gotten into Supernatural yet because again, that's a commitment, and I know that I'm not going to stop, but I have so much to do right now. But you're like that is a big thing too. Just and that's the thing. That's how I know I need to relax is when I'm actually sitting still enough to watch TV.
right. Well, it's if it's one of those things though, like where I can't like sit inside, like sit still. Like sometimes like just reading a lot of those stuff, it can be so infuriating, and it just also makes you just want to just like go and talk to these people and be like, what? Like, what are
Yeah,
you even saying? Do you like what just came out of your mouth?
yeah,
And who is your mother? Like,
like what did they do to you?
right. Like, I just don't understand why you like would even like think that this is okay. And so sometimes I get a little too heated to just sit and watch Netflix, and that's
Yeah.
when it is time for me and nature.
Oh yeah.
Like, I need to just go hang out. If I can go into the woods and walk around in the woods, perfect. If
Is that
not, I will just walk around the neighborhood just because I'm around the trees. Like,
actually, yeah, I live in actually my apartment is called the forest, the complex, because there's a lot of trees around here where we are. And I will put my headphones in and go for a walk when I'm feeling that like angry tingle in my, just, yeah, I,
hmm
I am the same way. I just need to move and get that out somehow. Um,
yeah.
and
Sometimes dancing works too.
oh, I
Like,
mean, that's so many of us who perform use that as a release, honestly. Like,
hmm
um, and speaking of like that, you've performed in a lot of places out there. It seems like a lot of different casts. Can you kind of tell folks about a few of those, like some of the shows you've been in, places you've been?
yeah, I have. Yeah, I've been around the Midwest just a wee bit.
So,
Um, so the show I was with the longest was Fusion Cabaret, which is in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and currently it's at the red carpet. But before that, it was known as the Boys and Babes of Biology because it was at the first openly advertised gay bar in St. Cloud. Unfortunately, it didn't last terribly long. And then we moved over to the red carpet and we were there. I mean, they're still going on. I mean, I moved to Iowa though, so
yeah.
like I had to kind of step down, and
Yeah.
that's being as Capricorn as I am, sometimes that was hard. But like
Like letting go of
um
the baby, yeah.
yeah, but I like knew that like one of my drag kids, Dexter Main Love, is like him and I co-produced together. And like we were also very like we all kind of talked about what we wanted to see with the show. There was not really we never really dropped the hammer unless it was kind of like, no, this is ridiculous, and we are like, no, you know.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen a lot. But and so like leaving it in like his hands and like the rest of the cast, like I knew it was gonna be okay. So it wasn't like it was just more emotionally difficult.
It's kind of
So
like you say you lose a little. It's a little bit of grief,
mhm.
we're losing certain things to get to the next stage. So I totally get that. I mean, I had a
Yeah.
show in Hagerstown, co-produced with someone, but we moved too far away to make that like a reasonable drive if we needed to get there quickly. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Well, oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was taking that time to try to not cough on the microphone because
Fair, fair. Yeah, well, also at in St. Cloud too is where I started getting involved in burlesque shows with the Vendetta Vixens burlesque troupe that was up there. The and that troupe, gosh, I think it was like 10 years, I want to say, roughly.
and,
Uh,
and that's a long
but the
time. for a troop.
Yeah, and I was the MC for it. So because they had actually came and saw me at biology hosting a show, and they were like, "Have you ever hosted a burlesque show?" And I said, "No, I haven't, but I will." And from that moment on, like I was the MC and like
Yeah.
part of the family. And that troupe also ended up having a little branch off because Nikita Cat was the like one of the founders. She started having Nikita's kittens. And
Oh, that's so
so that
cute.
was like her like students and stuff. And so it was like we had two little troops happening. I of course was still the MC for them as well. And then those were all going on for a while until actually she bought a restaurant in downtown St. Cloud. It was Sawati for a while, but now they have made it a Thai and Filipino fusion restaurant called Roy, and it is so good. And obviously, when all of a sudden you are a restaurant owner, you don't have as much time. So we kind of like had to say our little goodbyes with that,
Yeah.
which was tough.
Like it again, it's always that little like you put so much work into something, there's a little bit of that grief with it. I mean, but ultimately, I'm sure you're happy for your friends, that got
Oh
there.
yeah,
And like, and the thing is, I also realized that everyone's telling me about somehow getting in the conversation, like different restaurants, that, and I'm like, well, I have to come to all these places now. I like food. So,
you have to. Like, if you go to a Roy without me, though, I will be upset. Like,
I'll make sure we all get to go. If,
okay.
I somehow I will get there.
Right.
My goal in life to at some point get to like every state. Pretty close now, but
Nice.
I'm not. I'm just halfway. I think that's
Right.
close.
That's close-ish.
Yeah,
It's closer than zero. So
very.
you're doing great.
Math we can manipulate. We know how that works. But
Yeah.
I think that that's my brain obviously works in strange ways. Like we just found out. So I heard you say oh Nikita's kittens, and I was like, kittens. Oh, you have cats, and you said that they were crawling around, laying around earlier, and it kind of brought me to the whole pets conversation because it's one of my favorites. So what are your cat's names?
So there's Ollie and Yzma. Ollie's 13 and Yzma is 6. So, or 7.
So no
they're both
tiny
actually
kittens.
passed out now. Yeah, no, they're both passed out. So Ollie, of course, like he wasn't in the room at the time when I first came in and shut the door. And, as it goes, when you enter the room and the cat sees the doors closed, you are in danger. You are in danger.
Yep.
Like, so he's in here now and now he's passed out because mom's safe now. So
yeah, like I can't see you. I don't know what's going on in there. Just got to make sure.
There's no such thing as privacy with cats. No.
I mean, I have dogs that are pretty similar. They're small. There's 3 of them. They're all in here because I can't close the door. They'll pace, they'll scratch, they'll annoy everyone else. But that's that reminds it was a nice segue into a question I'm sure you've heard other people kind of answer is the exotic animal question, which is one of my favorites. Just if you could own any kind of exotic or even just weird animal that people don't normally own, what would it be?
Okay, so we're talking like in this realm and the ones that are alive now, not even like
I
extinct
mean,
ones.
Anything. I mean, mythical creatures too. That works.
I was like, because I kind of have a list, honestly.
I would love to hear. I'm obsessed with animals. I'm so go.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, I would love a panda, and a velociraptor specifically is one of the
Probably
like,
not in the
ones.
same room, but
Debatable. You never know. They could be friends.
It could be a very cuddly velociraptor, which also would be adorable.
Right. But yeah, otherwise, like I really like Black Panthers, like the Jaguars do. Like they're just they're so pretty, and I mean, it's still a cat. It's just a big cat,
right? All cats.
Yeah. But
I'm just I'm excited, because I love asking. It always gives you an idea, like, oh, what animals people like, because you can kind of, I can totally tell the cat vibes. They're just so like even when they're crazy, they're just so pretty and like mysterious. I love it.
Right. You never know what's happening.
I mean, I'm definitely allergic to them, so it's like I love petting them. It's one of those horrible thing. I suck it up just to be around so much cuteness.
Yeah, I mean that I get that. I get that.
So I mean that's like a little bit of these questions I have a little plan for. I'm sure people have noticed by now, and it's not surprising that I've done so many of these now. But I asked about pets first, and so my next question is always like pet peeves. And for entertainers, I do something a little different. I ask about dressing room pet peeves because we all have them, without like obviously calling anybody out. You know. So would you say your number one dressing room pet peeve is when you're performing?
Well, I mean,
Nothing that's like super,
right.
of course, like yeah.
Right. Honestly, like I am not a fan of when it's just a bunch of random people in there.
That is mine
Like,
too.
as somebody who doesn't wear padding anymore, um, I'm kind of like, I would rather you not be in here if I don't know you.
Yeah.
Which is funny because most of my numbers, like, they can be pretty revealing, but it's just kind of like, this is, I
This is
don't know
not the
you.
space like for
This is
that.
not the
That's not
space for
the
that.
yeah.
You're not giving me money, so no.
Yeah.
But
I'm
yeah, you're the same way though. Like,
that is the one I always say too, because it's also just hard to focus. Like if I'm so I never paint in the venue if I can help it, honestly, because by the time I get to the dressing room, it's just chaos. So I like to just use it to get changed. And some places, of course, you know that it's so small that when there's more random people in there, it's yeah.
I have literally gotten ready in a utility closet for a show.
Bathroom stall. Because there was no room in the dressing room. So yeah.
Yep.
They put us in the strangest places sometimes. Because
They
it's
really do.
Like in a lot of places they weren't set up for shows, but they have to put you somewhere. So it's like, yeah.
Will this do? There's not even a light bulb. Like what?
like it's like there are 6 of us, and that's a shower.
Right.
We had to make it work.
Honestly.
No, I mean that's why I like having things we can talk about that are again real people, things that are just not so super serious and focused on. But I did want to kind of get back to a couple of the wrap up questions because I'm looking at the little clock I have in the corner up here.
Oh, yeah.
Just to make sure we all get to sleep. Well, it's not as late, I guess, where you are.
Here is yeah.
But
it's only 10 here.
That's not so bad. So one of the questions I asked a lot of people is if I don't have this right now. I wish I did. But if I gave you like $10,000 and you could start a new project for the community, what would that be?
All right. Well, honestly, I just feel like it would be a resource center, like because I just feel like the kids don't have that, and it'd be a place that you could come get clothing. You could come, like, just find ways to get involved and meet other people who are like them.
Absolutely.
If I were to start up something, that's what I would really like to see. And especially like for any of them who become homeless, like I'd want to have an area for them to be like, okay, you come live here now, and like, let's get you on your feet. Like, let's get you to where you need to go, because I don't want you to think that this is your life now. Right. Because it's not.
It's such a critical point.
Yeah, like, because so many people get kicked out and they have nowhere to go, and it's like, well, no, I would love to have a place. Like, here, we will make sure you have food, and then depending on their age, like, let's work on like job skills. Let's get you let's learn basic human things that we got to do.
And that's one of those things that you could honestly, $10,000. It may not seem like a lot, but to get that started and to get the momentum behind that's something that it's possible. And I think it's with the community and with everything going on, we have a lot more of us really stepping up and making sure that those projects can get underway. So I think that it's still like something to keep in the back of your head right now, because I think that's a good idea. That's actually it leads into my last question, to wrap up, because we always do talk about with Trans USA, especially, like all the projects and all the ideas we have and the things we really want to get done, and things we want to do for other people. But one of the most important things that I like to ask is, it's a big commitment and a big step. And nationals is a whole different ballgame, than a lot of other things that people have done. So I wanted to ask, like, what would you personally like to take out of the experience when November comes around?
I've just been really excited to take in like being surrounded by that many trans people. I'm like, this is gonna be so great. like
That's the best
like
part,
just
honestly.
yeah, like getting to experience what that's like to be around a huge group of people where and even like the people that are going to be there that aren't trans, like that they're there supporting, like so that it's like a safe community, it's a safe area, and just meeting all the other contestants. I'm really excited for that too.
That
Hi everybody, I once again am Miss Carmen Love Monroe, your current reigning Miss Trans Iowa 2023, and I just would like to say thank you so much for taking time tonight to watch my interview. I also would love to say thank you for showing the support that you have for all the other contestants. It means the world to us, and we can't do it without you. So thank you once again, 1,000 times. If I were to have a bit of advice to leave us with this evening, that would be just to remember to keep being authentically yourself, because no one else can be you, so you better do it, because being yourself and just living authentically is a beautiful thing, and it's only going to just radiate and show others that they can live authentically as well. And there's a lot of people who are terrified to do that because they don't think they can, because they don't have anyone they've seen doing it. So you could be that person. Go out there, be your beautiful self, and just keep spreading some love, because Goddess knows we need it. So, with that said, I once again am Miss Carmen Love Monroe, your current reigning Miss Trans Iowa 2023, and I cannot wait to meet everybody in November. You all have a wonderful night.
You wanna put that dish in your mouth?